Welcome back to the Pesty Marketing Podcast. Our next guest is someone who's been in the pest control world long enough to know where the industry has been, and he's been building the tools to take it where it's going. Antoni Hoshino is the founder and CEO of Pest AI, an AI-powered agency helping pest control businesses automate their marketing, manage leads, and grow smarter. He was on the show back in 2023, and a lot has changed in the AI space since then. So we're excited to catch up and find out what's new. Antoni, welcome back, brother.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah. Great to have you back. You're a wealth of knowledge. You were dropping a lot of jewelry on the last episode you were on, and Pest AI. I mean, you guys have absolutely blown up since then. Yeah, really pumped to have you on and jump into some new things. And you guys have a lot of new stuff going on as well, so lots to talk about. When you were last on the show, you teased a feature where AI was texting leads, and it was virtually indistinguishable from a real person, even at that time. Called it the future of automation. Fast forward 3 years, where has that gone, and what does Pest AI actually look like now?
Man, it's evolved so much. I look back on how we were doing it then, how we do it now. It's just, I don't want to say it's easier, but it's just so different. You know, now that AI has come so far, now you truly can build agents that can handle conversations and operations and functions completely on their own. So the world of conversational AI, just that little piece of it has changed dramatically. So we can do some pretty cool stuff now for sure.
What percentage of that, the large language models that have made are just leaps and bounds from where they were back then? And what percentage of those improvements are your team and prompt engineering and knowing, which models work best and how to leverage them?
Yeah, a lot of it's been our experience with different models. Of course, the models have gotten better, and that's been awesome, but they've also all kind of gone in their own directions. And so through that, all of our testing and all of our usage of them, we've really been able to pinpoint which models we like for different things. And so we're able to select between them and use them effectively. But then, aside from that, like you said, the prompt engineering, the structure, I mean, you've done some great talks on that. The more you figure that out, the better the results are going to be. We always say bad in, bad out, good in, good out. So it really depends on what you're putting in. I think some of the biggest advancements have come from also how we feed the models information, right? How the knowledge bases actually work. And so that's made a huge difference, I think, in the conversations that it can actually have. And then the integration functionality, API integration functionality that's available now for different platforms as well has changed dramatically. And back then it was just text. Like now we have voice, which is a whole other realm all of its own, right? That just didn't even exist last time we were on the show. So yeah, it's crazy how much it's changed over the last few years, and it's going really fast.
Do you think voice is where text was a few years ago now? Because we've had several clients who have tested different voice AI platforms. It doesn't seem any of them have been, like, the results have not been, wildly exciting. But I haven't heard anything for a little while now. So I don't know if maybe there was a lot of interest and then people sort of put a pause on it because they were disappointed or what. But where is voice nowadays?
The initial issue with voice that all of us as business owners came out with is that it didn't sound natural, right? Everybody wanted a voice AI that sounds human. Well, now the voice part is so easy because 11 Labs and Google and OpenAI have come out with these amazing voices, right? And so now it's more so about what the AI can actually do and how you can function it. But I think the issue that people are still running into is the consumer adoption side, right? With text, it's really harder to tell what it is. With voice AI, you're still going to hit that wall of people who have their own predisposition of like, I don't want to talk to AI. I don't like AI. And so no matter how good the AI is, you're still battling that. But I think as adoption continues and people get used to using it more and more and more on a consumer side, that will fade away. And the homeowner generation is only getting younger, right? So as the years move on, younger people now own the homes. They're the ones that have been more used to this technology because it's been around since they were younger. And so I think you'll see that subsiding. So the companies that are adopting it now and making it part of our process and figuring it out and getting it dialed in now, I still think will be the ones on top, over the next few years versus people who are just kind of getting into it, waiting for it to be what they want it to be,
I guess that's a good segue into my next question. So AI tools are everywhere, right? I mean, starting a couple of years ago at Pest World, like all of a sudden half the booths at Pest World were AI booths, and pest control operators are being pitched on them constantly. So how does an operator cut through the noise and figure out what is actually worth implementing versus
Yeah.
what is just hype?
Yeah, I mean, and this was part of a big shift that we made recently, over the last year or so of shifting from what we consider to be a product to more of a service. And so, as an AI agency, we saw this happening where owners were just getting bombarded with all these different AI products, and they were buying all of them because they said, "I need AI in my business," right? And so I get on calls with people all the time, and I'm like, "How can we help you?" And they're like, "I need AI." Like, "What about it?" "I don't know, but I need it." Right? So our goal now as we move forward is to really help owners navigate through that and then be that back end technical partner for them to implement, whether it's a solution that we have that we built or even an external solution that they want to put into their tech stack and have it all working together. The goal is to help them integrate that and then bring it in. But as far as like cutting through the noise and figuring out what you really need, I think it really comes down to getting good, really good for business owners at knowing what you want done. What is the task? Then you can look at the tools and understand, okay, I need this or I don't need that. Or, oh, we can already do this with something that we have, right? So I think it's just a shift there, but it's still so new that there's a lot of owners that are just like, yeah, I need AI. I don't know why. I don't know what it is, but it's the future. I need it in my business. And they're going around buying everything under the sun.
If an operator were to try to, like, they need somewhere to start, right? So if I'm an operator and I'm trying to assess where is AI actually going to be useful in my business, what is that? Is there an equation, a framework, certain principles that I can sort of create a lens through which I look throughout my business and start to analyze where it's actually going to be useful and helpful, and today, and maybe also something that is where I can deploy it, and the lift is not like wildly difficult. Like, how does an operator even start to assess? Because if let's say they come to you and you're saying like you guys can help them sort of navigate that, but if they come to you with a list of things and say like, I thought through these things and here's where I think I should start, like, how do they even get to that point where they have a
Yeah.
list to bring you?
No, it's a good question. I think a lot of it now comes from like a shift because AI is so capable, right? It's a shift from, as an owner, it used to be, I need to hire people to do everything, right? And now there's this shift where there's actually AI that can do some of those things. And so you don't want to replace everybody on your team with AI, but you want to look at the gaps that you have and the tasks that you need to get done and see if AI can supplement that to help you be more efficient in your overhead. I think for companies that are just, like, how can I use AI? I think all of the standard, like available public cloud based LLMs like ChatGPT, Claude, Manus, Perplexity, like those are great ways to get started in AI, right? Just start using AI for something, whether it's to help you build your SOPs or to plan out some marketing or whatever it might be, right? That's one way to immediately start using AI at a very low cost. Then you can look at gaps in your business. So a lot of people, first thing now that they come to us for is like after hours, right? I'm missing calls or I'm not responsive to leads. So your speed to lead aspect is what you're trying to fix. We can implement agents to do those things, right? Or collections, past due balances, agents that can follow up on those things, right? So it used to, like, I have to hire a person to just do this one thing, right? Or I need to hire a bunch of people, or I need a call center, or I need this right now. Now all we need to do is look at the gaps and we say, okay, AI can do this piece. So now I don't need to go do that, right? I just have it do this little piece, little piece, little piece. Wouldn't recommend jumping in and trying to have it do everything. So just look for the gaps and try to use it where you can.
And when someone is trying to make that assessment, right? And then all of a sudden you come up with all these different ideas and ways that AI can be brought in. I would imagine that at some point you need to document your processes, right? Or have thought through your processes and organize your thoughts around it well enough that you can identify what those gaps are. Is it reasonable to say that a good starting point for like an ideal starting point for AI, like if you have a company that approaches you and says, "Hey, we need AI," and then has all these processes documented, because then you can just look at the documentation and say like, okay, cool, I can see exactly where AI can actually like save you time in this process. Like, do you take people through any sort of documentation process or map that out so that you can then identify those areas?
Yeah, we have our discovery call process. We go over a lot of that. We've done full maps for companies on different processes, and that really helps. I think the biggest change is like AI and automation is no longer the moat. It's no longer what can we do with it. It's like you can do everything, right? So, like you said, it's really now about an owner or company's ability to document, understand, and be able to tell you what the process is and what you want to do. And if you can now do that really well, it's getting easier and easier to say, oh, cool, AI fits here, 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 you know, because it's so capable. It's wild.
Do you use any AI or AI tools, or do you have a process for coming up with the process, with the documented process? Like, I would love for anyone listening to be able to walk away with like or process to like actually execute some of this documentation.
We have a few tools that we use internally. We have something that'll be coming out soon, customer facing, where you'll be able to put in a bunch of information, get out essentially a map like that, which I think will be really helpful for our clients. But you know, I would say like for us internally, one of our favorite tools is Manus. Manus helps us create processes and SOPs so effectively because we can just dump in a ton of information and it's so good at organizing it and and giving it to you in that format. So I would recommend if anybody out there is listening and they haven't used Manus yet and they're just still using ChatGPT, asking it random questions, definitely check out Manus and what it can do for your business because it's pretty amazing.
And how is Manus different from ChatGPT or Claude? Or, those are probably the two most
Yeah.
popular, and chat being, ahead by quite a bit, probably for our audience. But how is it different? And also, can you spell Manus for anyone listening?
Oh yeah, Manus, Manus AI. So ChatGPT and I'm gonna say original Claude because Claude has changed a lot over the last few months. But they're more of just like a communication back and forth interface where it's like, I ask you this, you give me this answer. I ask you this, you give this answer. So Manus is actually autonomous agents that can do tasks. So you can ask it a question and then it will go online and look this up and go over here and create this PowerPoint or create this doc or whatever. Like it'll then do a bunch of actions on its own, planning, communicating with itself, everything. And so, there was like this whole like Clawbot thing. Everyone's talking about Clawbot, right? Well, Manus has been able to do that forever. That's literally what it did, but Clawbot made it appear more user friendly, I think. And so, if you could get it set up, that was the attraction. But now you have Claude Cowork, you have Perplexity Computer, right? Everybody's now coming out with their agent version where they can use your browser and go do tasks and you can give it a task on your phone and it goes and does it on your computer. So, yeah, I think the moat is breaking down very quickly. That's just the direction that everything's going is truly agentic.
Yeah, it's interesting because as you were explaining it to me, I was thinking like Claude Code, right? That's what I use
Yeah,
these
Claude Code's
days.
great, right, for
Yep.
coding. Yeah. So a good example would be now you could take Claude Cowork and tell it to go research. So you want to build something, right? I want to build a landing page uh, for my new campaign that I'm going to run to reach out to commercial properties like restaurants, right? Well, I can go tell Perplexity or Claude Cowork, go do research on XYZ. What are the most common pests that we see restaurants experiencing online? What are people getting bad reviews for that related to pest control? Da, 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 right? It'll actually go out and do all of that research, then come back around. Okay, now build me the landing page with all that context. So it used to be like you could jump in there and build something just with instruction, like, hey, build me a landing page about restaurants and my pest control company, right? Now you can say, hey, go get me all this information and then use that to build me the page that's going to be most effective to sell this offer. And so I think that's a huge shift, which is pretty incredible because you're putting so much power in the hands of the user that they would have had to go and find an expert or do a bunch of research for, when now AI can go help them do all that and they can execute it themselves.
Yeah, and also when we're talking about agents and literally agents, right? So plural. I'll have it's not uncommon for me to have like 4 to 6 Cloud Code terminals up at the same time,
Right.
all running, all doing something, sometimes in a loop. In order
Yep.
to my job for however long that I'm doing that is literally just like managing these different agents and
Yeah.
responding. And I'm one of those crazy people who there's a setting in Cloud Code called dangerously skip permissions. I just let them run wild. Like I'm not
Go.
interested in letting them and like giving them permission to do everything. So they have like basically free reign over my computer and everything, and they just kind of
Mhm.
do whatever it is I need them to do. And so it sounds like
Yep.
Manus, similar like Cloud Cowork, has that kind of interface where it's not a terminal, it's more user friendly, and it's
Agent
just
based.
agent based.
Yeah,
Super
it's
interesting.
awesome. Yeah. Presentations, SOP documents, those are all easy tasks for any business owner.
Yeah, and also when the what's cool about some of these things is it's not just creating these things out of thin air, but when you connect them to different platforms, like for us, we use Asana, we use Notion, we use
Yeah.
Slack, right? And so from these terminals, or we have it connected to I have it connected to my Gmail. So from these terminals, it might come up with something, and then I tell it, cool, go draft an email in my inbox.
Yeah.
So, to respond to a client about this thing that we just did, or go, right? And then all of a sudden I don't even have to leave these terminals, and the thing goes and writes the draft for me. It doesn't even write it, so I have to copy and paste it. It's literally just in my inbox ready
That's
to
one
be
of my
sent.
favorite. Yeah, I have a command called a fire drill that I created. And so it scans all my unread emails, looks for a bunch of parameters that I said are like, hey, these are fire. And then it points them out, drafts all my responses for me, and then tells me, hey, you have a fire drill and you need to go, this is the result of the fire drill. You need to go do this, 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 and this now. Everything else you can do later. Because as a business owner, whether it's me or you or any of us, like our inboxes are just insane. And so there's like all these little things that you can become so efficient with AI. It just helps you do more, I think, personally. I don't know.
A
Maybe I
hundred
just grew up
percent.
on like Iron Man and all these movies, but like now you realize like Tony Stark was just a vibe coder and that's how he became a superhero. So we're on our way.
Yeah, it really does just make your ability to move so much faster, and not only faster, but also to do what you're doing better, right? Because I think and that's one of the concerns in like the agency world is like, oh, well, you're just cutting on costs and you're just doing what you always did, but you're doing it faster. And some agencies do that. But then there are those of us out there who have also found a way to make what we do way better than we ever could have done before, because the speed at which we can do these things and the cost of doing them has come so far down that it's really about plowing that back into finding ways to get a competitive advantage, for your clients, right? And so kind of like you
Yeah.
alluded to earlier, I mean, if you find a way to use this stuff and become better, like you're going to leave your competitors in the dust.
Not only that, but then like the more you use it, the more you connect, you just have this insane access to your data,
Hmm.
right? It's like you mentioned Asana and Slack. So we use ClickUp. And ClickUp has this feature called the AI brain, literally absorbs everything in the ecosystem. So channel communications, tasks that we're working on, our support tickets that are coming in from our clients, from our support software, like everything's connected, right, into ClickUp. And then I have Claude connected to that. And so I can essentially reference anything from my entire company, whether it's my email, whether it's our project management, whether it's our support, like I can literally reference that all from my hand. And so if I want to figure something out as an owner of my company, right? Like today we're working on our onboarding process and I'm like, I want to like, what can we optimize? What is coming up over and over and over again? And I was able to just go into Claude and say, look through everything, tell me the top 3 things that are coming up most as an issue or a slowdown or whatever it is. And then let's come up with a solution for that, right? And it's able to go look at everything and give me the answer, and then I can go execute. But super educated. It's crazy.
To your point, it's like the more you connect. So what we have connected is our all of our emails throughout the company. connected. All Slack communication that's not one-to-one private, all public
Yep.
Slack communication connected. All Asana connected. All Fathom transcript recordings. Every
Oh,
single
that's a good one.
meeting.
I like that one. I do that a lot too. Yeah.
Every single meeting
Yeah.
connected.
Yeah.
And then, within Asana, it's like it's the task, it's the description, it's the comments, it's the back and forth. And then you can also then connect it to like I said, Notion or these other tools that we're using. Like now it's connected to Ahrefs, or it's connected to any of these different SEO tools that we're using. And so once you have this like central brain, all the data is just at that point at your disposal
So accessible.
to connect, combine, ask questions,
Yeah.
do whatever you need to do. So yeah, there's a lot of value in the data as well. So the more of that you can be organized about and gather really makes these tools even more valuable.
Yeah. I think that's the direction that everything's going now, is connecting your tools, right, to AI. Like, I just had a really fun project where I built an AI agent that's connected to field routes, not for like sales, but like for direct communication. So I can literally talk to field routes, right? I can ask it for anything in my field routes account. I can get that data out. I can ask it to do anything I want in field routes, right? And so I think that's the direction of like everything's going. It's like software took us to paperless. I think AI is going to take us to clickless. You're just gonna be able to talk to your AI and do whatever you need to do because it'll just go do it for you.
Yeah, you know, that's where you and I might disagree a bit about that one, because I think for guys like you and I, and probably for a lot of the audience, like operators listening, that's true. But I think it takes a certain amount of agency to be willing to make those connections, to instruct an agent to do something, to give it orders, to be organized enough to connect all these things. I think there's always still going to be room for like the simplicity of, give me the exact
100%.
input and
Yeah.
I'll give you an output. But for those of us who do have enough, agency to build these agents to leverage AI, it really does become a superpower.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is I feel like working with AI has made me better at communicating than when I was working more with people. Because you have to be so good at telling it exactly what you want it to do to get that result. And from that, I feel like it's made me better at working with my human team, because now I can very clearly tell you, hey, not only do I want you to do this, but I want you to do it like this. And I want you to take these steps. And this is what I want from the outcome. Right. And before, I would have just said, hey, go do this. Thank you. you know?
It's so funny because I actually communicate in meetings differently now, more
Yeah.
clearly, because I
Yes.
know the AI is listening and I want it to have a good transcript. And so I will reiterate that's hilarious.
I
The
do that too.
exact same experience.
Yeah, I'll be on calls with clients and they're probably thinking like, why is he talking like this? But I'm like, so our next action steps that we need to take are da da da. Right? Like I'll
But
totally
it's
reiterate
so
everything.
funny because it's just like great copywriting. Like
Yeah.
in copywriting, the intention is not to treat people like they're stupid, but you do need to treat people. You need to write for the lowest common denominator, and there's a very large
Yeah.
percentage of the population that whose reading stops at like an eighth grade reading level. And so great copywriting is always really simple. Like it's not about being clever, and it's about clarity. And when you're interacting with this AI, what you and I have sort of naturally come to this conclusion where it's like you end up speaking to or writing to the lowest common denominator. Again, not treating it like it's stupid. You just realize the value of clarity,
Yes.
and it's amplified. That clarity ends up being rewarded in AI. But it's also our team members, our clients, like all of them appreciate the same level of clarity that we're now realizing is important. And we just happen to learn it from communicating with AI.
Yeah.
It's just kind of
It's
ironic.
wild. It really has changed the way that I communicate with people tenfold. It's exactly like you said.
What do you think is coming next? I mean, is this just like now we're in this period of iteration of text being better and better, which it's already, I feel like all the models now have become, there's pretty good parity among them. Like they have different strengths, but they're all really strong at this point. Are we just waiting for audio to kind of like then catch up? And then eventually we have video, or you're in the trenches on this stuff. So like, where do you see
Yeah.
this going?
I don't think the big differentiator anymore is going to be like the voice getting better or the model getting better. Because I think for conversational AI, it's there. I think the big change moving forward is going to be context based response. AI having more context based on data input. And I'm seeing this a lot. I'm seeing a lot of companies coming out with products that are focused on, we have all of this data, but now we've structured it in a way where the AI can easily reference it and use that in conversation. And so I think personally, I think that's going to be the big change. It's AI's ability to have contextual, from all context from all of your data, how accessible it is. I've seen a lot of cool products come out. A couple recently around like focused on retention and like what you consider a health score. Right? We've played around with this quite a bit, but essentially dumping in all of this data, notes and appointments and billing, right? It's like you could do all that and put it all in there, but ChatGPT is not going to be able to figure out what to do with it, right? And so everyone now is what they're doing is they're figuring out how to structure it in the database so that it becomes super accessible. And I think that context is what's going to take AI over the top, because now AI can be having a conversation. It sounds good enough, but it's able to see everything it needs to see to be super functional. And for me, that's more important. And maybe that's just me, but I've spoken to certain companies of a really good sounding system that can't do anything. And that's more frustrating for me than a company that has something that sounds a little bit robotic, but man, this is doing everything I need it to. I think that's going to be the shift personally. But yeah.
Interesting. So yeah, it's kind of like what what we've been experiencing for the last few years has been all about like the output, right? It's been all about the large language models for the most part. Giving us something that sounds human or that sounds smart.
Yeah.
And what hasn't gotten nearly as much attention is the input, which is what you're essentially talking about, right? There's the prompt engineering side of that, and then there's also the knowledge base side of that, which are two different things and require different kinds of attention and optimization. So that's interesting that you're seeing that, and we're seeing the same thing as well as we are, building tools internally. It's like, okay, well, it's okay if you have the data sources, but then how do you get that data and organize it and store it, in like in a database in a way that makes it retrievable, and where the large language model has enough context and the right context to know where to get that data, and then how to use that data. Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense. Tracks with my own journey as I'm building products internally with it as well.
Yeah. I mean, this trial and error at this point. We're just building tools and realizing, I gave it all this data. Why didn't it give me the right answer? That's the scary part about AI. I'm sure you've seen it. The scariest thing for me about AI is how confident it is, right? Like you'll give it all this information and then it'll be like, here's the answer. But then if you actually check it, it's like, oh wait, no, that's not right. And then you tell it, hey, that's not right. This was it. Oh yeah, sorry, I made a mistake. You're right. But it was so confident that first time. And so I think that's dangerous for a lot of people. And that would be my warning, is like, it's becoming so easy to go out there and use Lovable and Claude Code and like all these platforms to create your own tools. And so people are starting to do that more often. But if you don't have a general understanding of like what is actually happening, you get yourself in some pretty big trouble where you have a business owner that's been like making decisions off bad data for a year because their AI tool told them that was right when it wasn't,
Yeah, I'm gonna give everyone my exact custom instructions that I've given my ChatGPT account as a way in part to combat exactly what just explained. You're absolutely right. These language models are largely overly agreeable to a fault. And, depending on what you want to get out of it, if you don't give it instructions, custom instructions, personalization that tells it to essentially not be so agreeable, you'll end up, you just won't end up getting the best output that you can have it. So my custom instructions are: act as a thinking partner, not a cheerleader. Challenge my assumptions, point out flaws, and surface trade-offs. Prioritize truth, clarity, and improvement over comfort. Disagree when warranted and explain why. Ask sharp questions that expose weak thinking. Do not soften feedback to protect feelings. Optimize for progress, not validation. And that
Yeah, I love that.
personalization in my chat and Claude makes a huge
That's
difference, because
gold.
oftentimes when I give it an input now, it will start off by doing exactly that, by first challenging what it is that I've instructed it to do, or the question that I've asked. And that goes for both business and also like my personal life, right? As I'm using it plenty for both. So guys, definitely worth stealing those custom instructions, because it's been personally really valuable for me.
Yeah. Production team, put that in the chat. Where does it go? Does it go over here somewhere?
Yeah, exactly. Awesome, man. Well, so I want to finish off with this. Pest AI, since inception has largely been um, it's been a software. It's been an AI. I've always referred to it as like an AI, marketing and sales, AI automation platform.
Yeah.
You guys are doing a lot more than that now. So, like, what is Pest AI at this point exactly?
Yeah. Pest AI is what we're really trying to be is a partner to pest control companies. Like we said earlier, there's so many AI tools and so many ways to use AI. And so we want to come in and help as that back end team who's familiar with both software, AI development, also pest control, and really help companies fit all of these abilities and functions and tools into their businesses in a way that's not just going to increase on their P&L how much they're spending on software. Because we see it all the time, people's software number increasing by 50%, 60%, 90% year over year as all these new tools keep coming out. It's like, hold on, we can do these 3 things from this one place. Right? You don't need to go pay for all these separate products. And that's really the service that we provide. It's helping companies consolidate that tech stack down, but still get the functionality out of AI that they're really looking for. And then, training them on how to use the tools and supporting them along the way, which I think is huge. Yes, there's a lot of companies that are really spending time and owners that are spending time to learn these things, but there are a lot that really don't know what they're looking at, or have the time to really truly dig in like you and I have, and start to, use these tools on an everyday basis, but they know that they don't want to get left behind as technology advances. So that's really what we're focusing on, helping everybody integrate these AI tools into their stacks, consolidate down, but still have all the functionality without increasing that huge spend number on the other side.
Awesome. Well, guys, if you need a partner in AI, there's no better person to partner with than Antoni and his team at Pest AI. So
Appreciate you, man. Thank you.
yeah, thanks for your time. It's great to have you on and to catch up. Congratulations on the just wild growth you guys have been experiencing. It's well deserved, and
Dude, you
I'm
too,
sure
man. I know we were just saying it before we started recording, but feels like every other person that we sign up with, they're like, you're using you guys. So we're constantly back and forth. It's awesome.
Yeah, we're right. Yeah, I don't think a week goes by these days without us having some kind of communication with you guys at this point. So yeah,
I
appreciate
get
it.
to, am I going to see you this weekend? Bug Bucks Con?
I'll see you at Bug Bucks Con. Yeah,
Shout out
I'll be.
everyone listening. Bug Bucks Con. Andrew will be speaking. It's going to be awesome.
Yep. Awesome. Well, appreciate your time. I'm sure we'll have you on again at some point, and so we'll talk then.
Sounds good, buddy. Thanks for having me.